give you the right seat.
Well, thanks for coming out, guys. We're excited. It was day one for us, first official day of practice. So the guys had a lot of juice to what they did today and how we played. We had good energy today, as you would expect from the first day. But we've had a pretty long summer, and I think it's been extremely helpful with 9 new players to do the foreign trip. That was a real positive. Got extra practice time. So I think we're far ahead of where we normally would be at this time of year. Not unusual. There's a couple of guys that have some minor stuff going on that were not participating today. But overall, I think it was a great start. Good first step today.
I know, Bobby, your last couple of seasons have been your best defensive seasons since you arrived in Tempe. Maybe it's a little too early in the process, but how do you see this team makeup in terms of the defense?
Defensively, good athleticism on the perimeter. Good length on the perimeter. Jemiah Neal and Frankie have been very good defensively. Malachi Davis, Braylon Green. Adam Miller is kind of a seasoned player. So we got some guys on the perimeter that could defend. And around the basket, Sean Phillips has been a real difference maker. He's 7 feet with a 7'5" wingspan, really goes after shots, plays with an edge to him. And then, Alonzo Gaffney. So those two together, have really good length and shot blocking ability. So I think the defense has pretty good potential, for us to be very active and create some turnovers.
What's your sense of where you're at with the shooting ability, especially the newcomers that you added?
Yeah, I think Adam has been very good in that area. He's a shot maker. He could, you could get him the ball a lot of ways, scoring off the dribble, coming off screens. Kamari Lands is a very good offensive player. He's got a good body, 6'7", and he's got some substance to him. He could, he could face up and shoot it, catch and shoot. He could put on the floor a little bit. Got some stuff back to the basket that I like. So I think he's a guy that potentially of the new players that could be a guy to put some points on the board. But Bryson Long is another guy that we brought in that could really shoot it and stretch the court. So Jemiah and Frankie have worked very hard on that as Alonzo has.
Coach, you mentioned Alonzo and Frankie and Jemiah, just with the transfer portal and everything, and some players leaving. Just what does it mean that those guys decided to stick around and be bought into what you've got going here?
Yeah, those guys are the anchors of kind of what we're doing. They've been vocally, they've been excellent, on our workouts, just reinforcing, messaging, to the new players of how we operate, and they've been great. They've been great leaders for us on and off the court, and they've all taken steps. I think they know what playing winning basketball looks like, coming off a 23-win season, and I think they're hungry to want to do more. And this is the last season of the Pac-12, and we talked about that, and just what are we going to do this year? With this being the last year, how are we going to attack this season and make the most out of it? It's our last chance to win anything, in the Pac-12 for Arizona State basketball. I don't see any banners, in our arena. So hopefully that's I think that's how the guys have been thinking. They've been kind of filing that away in the back of their minds.
And Coach, I know you mentioned obviously the trip, but the way the transfer portal is bringing in new guys year after year, a trip like that is obviously big, but how does it help you in recruiting and even translate to their play on the court?
Yeah, it was. The bonding stuff was great. The time the guys spent, you could see them off the court, just organically spending time together and laughing and having a good time. And so that part of it was excellent, particularly with so many new players. The games were great to get a glimpse of looking at different combinations, and we didn't have our full complement of players. Bryant had a visa issue. He's a Canadian, and Zane Meeks had a minor injury that he couldn't play. So we didn't even have really our full front court, but you saw a lot of potential with the team playing against a couple of pro teams over there. And I'm not always sure what that competition is really like, and they're maybe throwing some guys together. But I thought I saw that this team had speed and aggression and things that we look for when we're recruiting. So I kind of like the group from what we did over there.
How do you assess the tenacity or the hunger of this group?
I think they've been very solid. like any team that I've had, we've had some days where, you know, we've had to really get after them and teach them that certain days are unacceptable, that we can't have bad days on the court where we lose a day to our competition. I think, you know, I brought up, you know, Texas Southern and San Francisco as kind of examples when you show up and you're not ready to play, and how that can impact, you know, your season. You know, I think, what if I didn't have to go and play in Dayton? How good we might have been in the first round of the NCAA tournament instead of having to go that route. So the more positive days we can have, I think the better. And that's, you know, I'm putting a lot of responsibility on Jemiah and Frankie and so as juniors and one senior to really emphasize that and have our guys like ready to play every day.
Where have you seen Jemiah take off? Because obviously at the end of the year when he got more playing time, he just really took off. And is he still kind of on the same trajectory?
Yeah, he's. I think he built off of last year at the end, and he was cut out to do better early. He had the setback with the injury, and that put him behind some guys. We had some other guys playing really well up in New York, and he got caught in a numbers game, and he had a breakout at the end. We had some injuries down the stretch, and he took full advantage of it. Played great basketball, and you know, Jemiah's never really lacked confidence. I'm sure you'll notice that when you talk to him, but. He believes in himself, and he's backing it up, man. He's one of our best workers. He's getting in the gym on his own, and he's putting the time in. So I think he's really focused on trying to have a really good year.
How unique of a skill set does Sean Jones have in the bigs that you've had over the years?
Sean is the most gifted front court guy that I've had. Just naturally gifted. I mean, his story is amazing. What he's been through, what he's you know, getting to this point. But he's got tremendous upside, and it's not going to. You may not see it on the floor every night. He's still a work in progress. He's very young. He's our youngest player on our team, even though he's a sophomore. He's 19 years old, but I mean, he's just got great feet and good hands and touch, and he's so explosive. He's got a 7'5" wingspan, and you know, he's got a little bit of, like I touched on earlier, just a nasty edge. You know, he's going to make some mistakes, and he's still learning how to play, but he's got a great future in front of him.
Have you heard anything about Adam Miller's situation, the waiver, and where you are with him?
No, we have not, and we're going to we're working on that, and that should be, you know, executed shortly, and then we should know when the NCAA does decide on it.
How about you personally? Were you able to get away for the summer at all?
It was kind of a normal summer for me. I find my pockets of when I can escape for a few days. You know, I went away a little bit in May before the portal closed, and from now on I'm gonna make sure I wait until the portal officially closes before I go anywhere, because I was driving my wife crazy, just, you know, wondering is there any shoe that's going to drop while I'm not around. So that would be the one adjustment I'll make to any future travel in the summer. But yeah, it was a great summer, and it's been refreshing really to come off a year where you feel like you're taking steps in the right direction again, and you feel rejuvenated. And then, you know, you have these new guys to work with, so it's always, you know, as a coach, really, really cool.
What are some of the finer details that you're working with Frankie on at this point?
Well, I think Frankie's got to show great vocal leadership. He and I have to be connected. He has to be unbreakable. You know, at the point guard position, man, you got to be the heart and soul of the team. You got to fight. You know, if you're struggling a little bit on offense, man, you got to figure out a way to will our team to win at that position, and trying to continue to reinforce, you know, that communication with them. He's put a lot of work in on the shot, so he's got to trust that and shoot it with confidence. And so hopefully that'll be the next step for him, just proving that, you know, he could step in and make those kind of shots from distance.
You guys have hung your hat on chemistry and toughness. Do you think it's going to be the calling card again this year?
We're still figuring our identity out. I'm not even sure yet if we're better on offense or defense. You know, we're going to be finding out over the next several weeks, and as we go to the scrimmaging segments. I like our balance. I think we got a number of guys that could really help us win. I like our potential on defense with our activity and our athleticism and length. So there are, you know, some positives on, you know, both offensively and defensively.
Coach, comparing this year's team to last year's team, you guys once again have a lot of newcomers. So how would you say, like, at this point last year compared to now with the tournament last year and the summer trip, do you think that you're further along than you were at this point last year?
Well, I think the foreign trip has closed the gap in that area. With the portal last year, we brought in a touch more of experienced players that were older that have played a lot of games of college basketball. There are some of the guys we have great upside, like I touched on, Sean Phillips, Kamari Lands, junior college player Malachi Davis. They're the transfers we brought in. I think they have something to prove. Particularly Kamari and Sean coming from losing environments. Now they got to come in here and help us win basketball games. So they still, gonna have to prove that. But I do like our strategy in the portal and how we put together the roster right now.
What was your favorite part of the Europe trip?
I would say the end of it. Mykonos is one of my favorite places in the world. It's been to visit there, and we stayed at a beautiful resort. And there was no basketball, and the players, we all went to the beach, and they had a blast. It was one of the most beautiful places that I've been to, and so that was easily probably the best part of it.
I know it's not on your mind right now probably, but you mentioned the last year at the Pac-12. Any thoughts about just moving to the Big 12 in the future and the juggernaut of the league that is?
I mean, it gets you excited if you're a competitor. If you want to, play weak competition, and not to say that the Pac-12 is that, because I think top to bottom this year, it could be as good as it's been since COVID stopped the season years back. I think some of the lower tier teams have gotten considerably better, and you can change your fortunes quicker with the transfer portal now and NIL and things. So I think it's going to be a very competitive year. But yeah, I mean, there's some heavy lifting ahead of us, in the future in terms of competing with those type of programs and the resources that they have and the brands that they are. I mean, you're talking about having, Baylor and Kansas and Arizona year in and year out, like 3 kind of top 10 teams that are in your league, and they were Big 12 was outstanding last year for in terms of NCAA Tournament, and having a chance to play TCU in the first 4 minutes. I started to see how big and athletic they were, and we kind of settled down in that game, and we were fine. But it's it's something in the back of our mind again that we're excited about.
As an ACC guy dating back, just what do you make of Stanford and Cal going to the ACC?
I mean, I'm happy for them because a big part of me, we've had battles with all these programs, and you want to see them land in a solid ground in some way and make sure they're in a good competitive environment. Because we're at the end of the day, there is a fraternity with the coaches, and we compete against each other. But you don't want to see any of those places be at a serious disadvantage or in a bad situation. So I'm happy that they're in the ACC.
With your staffing hires, what was your goal when hiring them, and do you feel like you filled that void, or do you think there's still a little bit more work to do on that end?
Yeah, we're still working to get the entire staff here, and I like it. We bumped up Nick Urban, and Nick has got great energy. He was, I don't want to say they're exactly the same, but I coached with Nate Oates at Buffalo. He was my assistant. He was a high school coach from Detroit that I brought in to help me with that program, and his career has taken off at Alabama. Nick was a longtime high school coach in Chicago, and I think he brings a lot to the table with how he coaches and supporting what myself and Coach Kimbrough are doing. Greg Lansing has been a head coach for a number of years at Indiana State, very experienced. As a special assistant, I think he'll do an outstanding job. And then, I brought in Mickey Mitchell, that is a former player, and Mickey was here last year, and he's moved up in his responsibilities. But he's a guy that's seen what good teams look like. Again, knows how the program operates at a high level, and is younger too. We got to keep making sure that we have young people in the program that could develop and grow as coaches and also relate to our players. So I like the balance between experience and youth that we have on our coaching staff.
Coach Hurley over here, you've had four 20 plus win seasons for your time here at Arizona State. How do you hope to do the same and maybe even improve for this year, as this year is the final year of the Pac-12?
Yeah, you're never satisfied, and you're never content with anything you're doing. We had a great season last year. How do we take further steps and get better? And going to the NCAA tournament's great, and it's very difficult. And I think last year I might have talked about all the blue chip programs that they weren't even good enough to make it to the NCAA tournament. So you have to take pride in that, but at the same time, we want to try and compete for championships and win games in the NCAA tournament and do more. And that's so that's kind of the goal for us.
Yeah, and you might have heard this plenty of times, but you've obviously had experience in the NCAA tournament as your time as a Blue Devil. What advice have you given your players for them to reach that goal and finally bring the chip home to ASU?
Well, I mean, it's the season matter. It's just staying in the moment and getting better every day, and on the practice court, and then certainly you got to put together a resume. I got my fingers crossed that the Pac-12 will be evaluated and rated as one of the better leagues, so that we get more representation in the NCAA tournament, and that we're a respected league this year. We got to, all the programs got to do their part and hopefully win in some key non-conference games, and then just get to work in the league to compete and put together the best season we can. And if you do that, then when the ball goes up, wherever you're going to be in the NCAA tournament, you got a great opportunity in front of you, and you got to take advantage of it.
How do you feel about this non-conference schedule and how you prepare you for conference play?
I like it. I think it's challenging. I think we've put together some very good neutral site games. 2 in Vegas versus BYU and either NC State or Vanderbilt, and we got TCU in Dallas on a neutral, which is again a rematch of our NCAA tournament game of last year. Between those two programs, we have Northwestern here on a neutral, and then starting the season, I don't know how many teams are starting any more difficult than we are. We're playing Mississippi State's one of the best defensive teams in the country in Chicago. So a lot of high-profile games, and then some solid games here at home. So I think it's got a good balance of what we were looking for.
A couple more questions, then we'll bring the guys in.
Last year there was a lot of close games, just a couple of issues of just closing it out. Over the off season, what are some things that you've seen from the guys that maybe someone is stepping up that could possibly be your closer, or just who do you think could really lead you to closing out those really tight games?
Yeah, I mean, it's those games come down to very fractional margins of winning and losing, and you hope that you have your playmakers are prepared to step up in those moments, that you put them in the right positions to be successful. That we talk a lot about our conditioning and our fitness and how hard we work. So we want to be the most well-conditioned team. So in the last 5 minutes of a game, we could figure out a way to reach deeper and to have more in the tank and close those games out. And I think historically we've done a pretty good job in games of 5 or less. I'm not sure exactly how that shook out last year, but we talk about it. We'll do game situations quite a bit here over the next several weeks to give those guys those opportunities to figure out how to win in the late stages of a game.
No more questions? Anybody?
All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Bobby.